We need to talk about Moldavite. I'm sharing my personal experiences with Moldavite and information I have never shared before, plus my top tips for buying Moldavite and how to safely adjust to its energy. By the end of this video, you will learn everything you need to know before potentially investing in this life-changing stone. Hi, I'm Ethan Lazzerini and I'm the author of 3 crystal healing books, including Crystal Grid's Power. So I originally bought a glass vial pendant which contained chips of Moldavite inside of it. And this was back in the 2000s. And I'd received some mail, some stuff through the post, and I kind of forgot that I'd ordered this. And before I'd even opened the package, I felt this kind of rush of energy that kind of made me feel, dizzy and ungrounded. And the same thing happened when I put it on. In fact, when it was put on, I could really sense this kind of rush, or this kind of almost like my entire body was being flushed with some type of energy. And I knew that this was a clearing of my chakra system. I could feel everything down the center of me kind of being cleared out. And within just a few days of me wearing this periodically, this kind of died down, and I was no longer affected by it. But because of my experience, I really felt like, no, I'm gonna spend a bit more money and get a bigger piece of Moldavite. So I sold it on so that I could contribute that money towards a bigger piece, because in my opinion, I didn't need more than one piece of Moldavite. And in a way, I kind of feel that having the smaller pieces of Moldavite kind of adjusted my energy so that I could handle the bigger piece later on. And in fact, when that arrived, I did not have that crazy kind of ungrounded experience that I got when I first tried Moldavite. And saying this, I do not carry Moldavite with me all day. I don't really wear it or have it on my body 24/7. I prefer to use Moldavite in small doses. So while doing research for this video, I decided to pull out some of my old journals and notebooks from the time, and I found a notebook that I wrote down some of my initial experiences with different crystals back in the day, and I found my original entry that I'd written about my first kind of sensations and the energies and the properties that I picked up from handling Moldavite and what it told me. And it looks like that was around the year 2009. And I'd never thought about this before because I did not put 2 and 2 together at the time. There wasn't that much information about Moldavite like there is now. But by the end of 2009, I actually lost my safe 9-to-5 job that I'd had for years, and it came as quite a shock to me. And I did not think about it or relate it to that stone because, like many people, I bought lots of crystals that year. It's only now looking back that I think that probably had something to do with that. Because after I lost that job, which at the time wasn't a nice experience, I ended up changing my career. I started a crystal jewelry business, and I ended up moving away from the area within another year of that. So my life literally did change. It wasn't overnight, it wasn't suddenly, but it was within a year of that. And I just wanted to add that if you're someone that has a history of bad reactions to certain crystals, there's a good chance that Moldavite could lead to a similar reaction. If you're someone who does not want to deal with emotional pain and past experiences you've had, do shadow work. This might not be a stone for you, especially at this time. And lastly, if you are highly sensitive to crystal energy and tend to get overwhelmed by certain crystals, such as those high vibration stones, then Moldavite probably will be overwhelming as well. If you're enjoying this video so far and you found it to be helpful, could you please give it a thumbs up, and this will help this video reach more people. Thank you. Despite what you might have heard, I don't believe everyone needs Moldavite, and I don't think Moldavite is compatible with everyone, particularly because it's such a strong stone that it can be just a bit too much. The price of Moldavite has always been high because it comes from one single location, it's a historic event, and it's also a finite, or there's not a lot of it, and each time we kind of pick up those pieces of Moldavite, there's less and less on the planet, which pushes the price up even more. But in recent years, because of the last 5 years, the TikTok kind of information that for some reason exploded, and then it affected everyone on social media, there's been this huge demand for Moldavite. And that, of course, pushed the prices up to pretty crazy prices right now. I think it has got to the point where it is extremely expensive. And one of the things people are doing is cutting Moldavite into smaller pieces, buying chips like I did originally, makes it a bit more affordable. So no one wants to waste a lot of money on something that's not right for them and then having to resell it, or finding you're just completely incompatible with something that you've spent a lot of money on. So I do have a few tips for you that I think you should try before you consider investing in a piece of Moldavite. If you're quite sensitive to energy or have a connection with crystals, then try this. Find a photo of a piece of Moldavite online or in a good crystal book. Then look at it and really try to connect with the stone depicted in the photo and see how that makes you feel. Do you feel a strong connection? Is it repelling you? Is it something that you feel drawn to and attracted to? And if you spend some time doing this, you should know in your heart whether Moldavite is something that you should go for. But even if you do feel that it is, I want you to try the next tip afterwards just to be sure. Find out if your local crystal shop or a mineral shop sells Moldavite. And you can also look up any rock and gem shows or mind body spirit events in your area, and also find out if any of these sellers have Moldavite. And then ask the seller if they will allow you to hold a piece of Moldavite and spend some time, probably sat down, sensing and feeling the energy of the Moldavite. So if it is not a good experience, you don't like what happens, or you feel nothing, or it's not right for you, you'll be able to try before you buy. So fake Moldavite isn't actually new. It has been going on for a long time, but what's happened in the last 5 years because of the new kind of explosion of interest in Moldavite, all the fake stuff is appearing on the market and it's getting more and more hard for people to buy genuine Moldavite. And the most common thing they use is basically green glass, which they can put into molds, sometimes even molded on a genuine piece of Moldavite, so it kind of looks similar. And they can also cut this into stones, beads, and other things like that. And so real Moldavite, as you can hopefully see from my video footage, is kind of a forest green color. It's quite dark unless you illuminate it from behind, and if you use sunlight or any type of yellow light, you'll see more of the green tones come out. And if it's cut thinly, like a small chip or a very thin piece, there'll be more green in that too. But most of the fakes look bright green or bottle green to me. Some of the fake Moldavites out there will even have a seam on the edge of it that shows that it was placed inside a mold. Try to get really familiar with what genuine Moldavite looks like by studying pictures in trusted crystal and mineral books. So the Book of Moldavite is filled with many examples of genuine pieces of Moldavite. One of the biggest giveaways in the market with fake Moldavite is a very low price. So don't be fooled by anyone who is selling very cheap Moldavite. No one is going to sell Moldavite for a very low price in this market. This might seem obvious to some of you, but just in case you're new to stones, you have no history, don't buy Moldavite from Amazon, Shein, Temu, and places like that. That's just because there's so many fakes on there. Sellers price Moldavite by the gram. You should expect to pay even more if it's a whole tektite, and particularly anything that has really good character or looks particularly good. Saying this, just because something has a high price tag, it doesn't guarantee that it's not fake either. As you can hopefully see, Moldavite tektites are matte on the surface and not shiny on the outside. Some fakes have a glossy look to them. Some really bad ones almost look plastic to me. But I will say, if you break a genuine Moldavite, or it's chipped, or even cut, you will see a shiny interior. And anyone selling you Moldavite which they claim was found or discovered at another location, and I've heard different places mentioned, then they are scamming you. It is only found in the Czech Republic. Certificates of authenticity also don't guarantee that it's genuine, because people that do fraud on people will just fake a certificate. One of the best ways to identify genuine Moldavite is to look through a jeweler's loupe or a microscope. This is something that a gemologist, a jewelry maker, or a mineralogist might be able to do. And if you don't do it yourself, and you can also look at it, and apparently if you look at it closely in that way, you will see tiny little gas bubbles that appear inside of Moldavite. There's also tiny little fragments that I even saw myself when I looked at my Moldavite close up, which are kind of lodged into the outside of the Moldavite. And these can be brown in color, and I spotted those too, and you would never see that in a fake Moldavite. So that's a really easy way to check as well. One of the best ways to avoid being scammed is to just buy from a reputable seller. And they don't have to specialize in Moldavite, but someone who's known for selling crystals and gemstones. So do your research, look for reviews online if you are buying there. Otherwise, I would recommend you buy from your local crystal shop. They don't usually have a permanent supply, they'll tend to get them in every so often. If you want to work with Moldavite, there are a few things I recommend you do to have a better experience. Most of the problems I hear about could have been avoided by trying these things. It's a good idea to use a grounding exercise or meditation before you work with Moldavite, and this will help anchor your energy and stop you from feeling spaced out. And another way is when you pick up Moldavite to also hold onto a grounding stone, and you can use anything you find grounding. So an example would be hematite or red jasper. And please don't carry or wear Moldavite that you've just bought 24/7 from day one, unless you're already used to wearing or holding Moldavite. If you're feeling these bad or intense side effects like dizziness, sickness, or a headache, put the stone down and give yourself a break. I recommend you only work with Moldavite for a couple of minutes on the first day, and then you can do this again the next day and see how it compares, and over time just increase the amount of time that you work with this stone. And be careful where you store your new Moldavite. Do not put it under your bed, next to your bed, or near your head, because Moldavite can trigger things like astral traveling, lucid dreams. So unless that's what you're trying to do, you probably will not sleep a wink. And I've tried to cover a lot of different things in this video, so if you want me to go into more detail about certain areas, let me know. And Moldavite isn't the only crystal that has these kind of effects and energies. So if you're interested in that, I can cover alternatives to Moldavite, which are less intense in a future video. And I will add that video to the end of this one once it's done. And if you found this video to be helpful, please like it and share it with like-minded people. And remember to subscribe if you want more crystal content like this, and check out the videos appearing on screen now. And if you haven't seen it yet, check out this video about the benefits and side effects of Moldavite.